Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome back to Mathematical Methods of Physics. Today we will be doing lecture number 8 of the course. Before starting this lecture, let's see what we have done in last lecture, lecture number 7. We started off our last lecture with Fredholm alternative. This is what we did in lecture number 6 as well. We carried on with Fredholm alternative in last lecture, and then we approximated our any kernel with the degenerate kernel by using Maclaurin series and solved a couple of examples, and then we went on to find the solution of Fredholm equation of second kind with symmetric kernel with the help of resolvent kernel. Basically, I will continue with that topic today as well. So today outline is again solution of the Fredholm equation of second kind with symmetric kernel, and we will see some examples. Note that the Fourier series in terms of orthogonal eigenfunctions of the symmetric kernel can be written as this. It's very easy. If you want to write any function, not just the kernel, any function in terms of your eigenfunctions, you can write them very easily by summation. Introduce some constants Cn, multiply by the eigenfunctions Un, and add them up. That will give you the Fourier series of any function. Now here, if you want to find Cn, it's very easy to find Cn. What you need to do is you just multiply your eigenfunctions on the function to the left. Just multiply kx eta by ux and eta and integrate from a to b. And then normalize it. Normalize means divide by the square of integration of the square of the eigenfunction. This is the normalization constant basically. This gives you the Cn. Alright? An orthonormal eigenfunction can be defined as, if you want to write orthonormal eigenfunctions, you divide by this factor. You see, this factor is the normalization factor. Square root of this one is called the norm of the eigenfunction, any function. Norm of un is defined as integral of un square and square root. This gives you, if you divide every function by its norm, your resulting function is orthonormal. Alright, so here un is norm of un of x. Obviously, now if you take the inner product of this function, it gives you 1. Why we did that? We want to get rid of this denominator. If I replaced un by phi n, of course this term will be equal to 1 with the help of this expression. So you will Cn will be easier to remember. The formula will be simplified for Cn. Alright, so solution of the Fredholm equation with the second kind with symmetric kernel. Fredholm equation of second kind with symmetric kernel. Let's start with where we left off in the last lecture. The solution of the Fredholm integral equation of second kind with symmetric kernel ux is equal to fx plus lambda a to b kx eta u eta d eta. This is the equation we considered in the last lecture, and then we went on to get the solution of this form, where gamma x eta lambda is the resolvent kernel. We called it resolvent kernel, f eta d eta. Now you see on the right hand side you don't have any u eta. Everything is known, so this is the solution. What is the resolvent kernel? We said resolvent kernel is the series of eigenfunctions. The same eigenfunction, phi k x and phi k eta, you multiply and divide by lambda k minus lambda, where lambda is of course not equal to lambda k. If lambda is equal to the eigenvalues, this is not the solution. Proposition 1 of Fredholm alternative says that if lambda is not an eigenvalue, you will get a unique solution. That's why here lambda is not an eigenvalue, and you are getting this unique solution here. If lambda is equal to the eigenvalue, we cannot employ this solution for the Fredholm equation. You need to remember this. Alright? Proposition 1 में हमने क्या पढ़ा था कि अगर homogeneous equation का सिर्फ ट्रिवियल सोल्यूशन हो, इसका मतलब है कि लैम्डा आइगन वैल्यू ना हो, तो फिर नॉन होमोजीनियस सोल्यूशन का इक्वेशन का यूनिक सोल्यूशन होता है. ठीक है, तो यही बात यहाँ पे भी हम कर रहे हैं कि अगर लैम्डा आइगन वैल्यू के इक्वल नहीं है तो फिर होमोजीनियस इक्वेशन का सिर्फ ट्रिवियल सोल्यूशन निकलेगा, और ट्रिवियल सोल्यूशन होने की वजह से नॉन होमोजीनियस सोल्यूशन का सिर्फ एक ही यूनिक सोल्यूशन एग्जिस्ट करेगा, ठीक है। तो ये हमने यहाँ पे शुरू में ही कंडीशन लगा दी कि दिस इज द यूनिक सोल्यूशन ओनली इफ लैम्डा इज नॉट इक्वल टू लैम्डा के, एंड रीजन, वन मोर रीजन हियर इज इफ लैम्डा इज लैम्डा के देन दिस रिजॉल्वेंट कर्नल इज नॉट डिफाइंड एट ऑल बिकॉज denominator will become 0 and the whole thing will blow up. Alright, so this will not be your solution. So you need to keep this in mind. Here lambda k are the eigenvalues of the symmetric kernel and phi k of x are the orthonormal eigenfunctions. Orthonormal, we have normalized them, right? U and fx are orthogonal functions. We divided by the norm to make them orthonormal. So these are the orthonormal. The integral of the square of these eigenfunctions is equal to 1. Just for our convenience we did that. It's the same as in the vectors. You see, we make the length equal to 1. We make them unit vectors just for our own convenience. If you are only interested in the direction, not the length, then we make it 1. We make the length 1, just direction. Alright, so same thing here is, we are interested in the eigenfunctions, just make them normalized by dividing by their norms, just for our convenience. Our formulas will be simplified a little bit, alright, but it's not necessary, but in practice we do that, alright. Now this colored equation, the red one, is equivalent to this one. We have done nothing here. I just replaced this resolvent kernel with this series. If I replace this series here in resolvent kernel, I'll get this one. Basically they are essentially the same. Now when lambda is equal to one eigenvalue, lambda j plus 1 with degeneracy p, then for lambda is equal to lambda k, which is lambda j plus 1, the coefficient in above equation is not defined unless ak is equal to 0. Here you see the coefficient is ak divided by lambda k minus lambda. So if lambda is equal to lambda k, this will not be defined unless ak is also 0. If ak is 0, then this will make this whole thing equal to 0 before lambda equal to lambda k. So if ak is equal to 0, that makes indeterminate and has arbitrary. So this is the only possibility. Alright. Otherwise, if ak is not equal to 0 and lambda is equal to lambda k, then the coefficients will not be defined and we won't have a resolvent kernel. Since ak is defined by this thing, now ak, if you recall from our previous lecture, we defined ak by fx times phi k of x dx. If this thing is equal to 0, it means fk is orthogonal to phi k. Right? Fk is orthogonal. If the product of fk and phi k of x integral from a to b is equal to 0, this is called the inner product of these two functions. If this is equal to 0, then fk and phi k of x, they are orthogonal to each other. Alright, so which shows that fx is orthogonal to phi k of x. Alright, in other words, a solution to the integral equation in the form exists if and only if fx is orthogonal to the eigenfunctions. Alright, so again, proposition 2 of Fredholm alternative that stated that non-homogeneous integral equation will have a solution if and only if fx is orthogonal to your eigenfunctions. So here again we are getting the same condition here, that if lambda is equal to the eigenvalue, then fx has to be orthogonal to your eigenfunction. Alright, so this equation will have a solution of this form unless fx is orthogonal to all the eigenfunctions phi j plus 1, j plus 2 up to j plus p. This is j plus 2, of course. Phi j plus 1, j plus 2 and all the eigenfunctions. These eigenfunctions correspond to the degenerate eigenvalues j plus 1, j plus 2, so on up to j to p. Alright, thus ak is equal to 0 for all k equal to j plus 1, j plus 2 up to j plus p. We said this eigenvalue, here we stated let lambda is equal to one of the eigenvalue lambda j plus 1 with degeneracy p. Alright, if degeneracy is p, then of course these all, if lambda j plus 1 is the eigenvalue with degeneracy p, then it will be true for all lambda j plus 1, j plus 2 up to j plus p. Alright, it's a degenerate eigenvalue, it's repeating. Alright, so so you have eigenfunctions from j plus 1 up to j plus p. If lambda j plus 1 is an eigenvalue with degeneracy p, then of course you will have up from j plus 1 up to j plus p, you will have all these eigenfunctions. So your f of x should be orthogonal to all those eigenfunctions, all those degenerate eigenfunctions. All right. So the above condition is also consistent with the preposition to. So I just stated that before, that this is consistent condition with your proposition 2. In proposition 2, we have studied this thing, that your fx has to be orthogonal to your eigenfunctions. All right. So when the above condition is satisfied, if this above condition is satisfied, then the series will include arbitrary constants b1, b2 up to bp. Here we said that, see, if lambda is equal to lambda k and ak is also equal to 0, then this whole thing will become indeterminate. Indeterminate means it can have any value, we don't know. It may be defined at 1, 2, 3. So it will be, eventually it will become arbitrary. So these coefficients have become arbitrary in this case. So you will have arbitrary constants from b1 up to bp, resulting from the p intermediate indeterminate forms. Ak over lambda k minus lambda will become bk when lambda is equal to lambda k, and of course ak is 0 in this case, and k goes from j plus 1 up to j plus p. So we are calling them b1, b2 up to bp, because they have become indeterminate. And our solution will become, and hence our solution becomes fx plus lambda goes from k goes from 1 to infinity, ak over lambda k minus lambda phi k fx. Before that we only had this solution, but now this is true for k is equal to 1 to j, and then from j plus p plus 1 to infinity. We will ignore those values of k when k is from j plus 1 up to j plus p, because for those values our coefficients are not ak or lambda k1, our coefficients are bk. So what we did here is we said b1 phi j plus 1 up to bp phi j plus px. So we separated these eigenfunctions from this series. So these are k goes from 1 to infinity, where k is not equal to j plus 1, j plus 2 up to j plus p. We have separated them from the series. All right, we have separated those terms from the series when k was equal to j plus 1, j plus 2 up to j plus p. So which gives infinity of solutions due to presence of arbitrary constant. Now this is not a unique solution. Why? Because b1, b2 up to bp, they are arbitrary. If they are arbitrary, it can take on any values, so it means we are getting infinite number of solutions, not a unique solution. So again, see, when we have taken lambda to be an eigenvalue, our solutions are not unique. They are infinite many. So we are still consistent with that Fredholm theory, Fredholm alternative theory. We are still consistent with them. All right? So this agrees with the proposition 2 of the Fredholm alternative. So still we are not conflicting with any of the propositions of Fredholm alternative. So let's see some examples how these things happen in practice. So first example is, I'll do both of them, all right, one by one. So first example is solve the Fredholm integral equation of second kind. Fx is x here, and your kernel is given by this one. This is a difference kernel, x times 1 minus eta, t times 1 minus x. This is from 0 to eta, and this is from eta to 1. All right, so you got this thing. This is eta outside, not t. This is eta. So this is our example. So t is less than x is less than 1. Alright, so this is our example in our previous slide. Ux is equal to x plus lambda 0 to 1 kxt ut dt, where kxt is given by this one. You can use eta for t, it's your choice, but you will see both. This is a basically dummy variable. Ux is there, but we are integrating with respect to t. So t is a dummy variable here. You can write xi, eta, t. We have been using all these coefficients, all these variables, right? I have used xi as well, eta as well, t as well. So nothing is different. Only x should not be changed because this whole equation is in x. X is our independent variable. So this is our example. So we need to solve it with the help of that resolvent kernel. All right. So note that we have a non-homogeneous equation, integral equation with non-degenerate symmetric kernel. With non-degenerate symmetric kernel. This is symmetric because if you replace x and t, nothing is changing. If you write tx, of course you will get t here 1 minus x and x here 1 minus t. These will be changed, so automatically you are getting kxt back. So this is a symmetric kernel basically. All right. So the corresponding homogeneous equation is, we need to find the eigenvalues, eigenfunctions. So if you write the corresponding homogeneous equation, the corresponding homogeneous equation is ux is equal to lambda 0 to 1 kxt ut dt, right? So the corresponding homogeneous equation is given with kxt given in 2. Let's call this equation 1 and this kernel 2. So of course k2 is kxt is the same as this one. All right. All right. So to find the eigenfunctions, we need to solve this one. Now here the problem is, if you follow the same steps, because it's a Fredholm equation, if you write this in terms of C1, C2 constants, you won't be able to find the solutions because of this kernel. This kernel is non-degenerate. So here the problem is with the kernel. Our kernel is not degenerate. It's non-degenerate kernel, so we will have problems following the same procedure. All right. So if we proceed as before, you can write ux is equal to lambda 0 to x kxt ut dt plus lambda x to 1 kxt dt, right? So we need to do this because our kernel is defined in these two intervals separately. All right. So here it's 0 to x. So for 0 to x, you have when t is less than x, you have t times 1 minus x ut dt, and from x to 1 you have x times 1 minus t ut dt, right? So this is, if I want to proceed in the same manner by calling this C1 and calling this C2, we cannot do this. The reason is, here you are having x in the limit. If x is in the limit, this is not a constant. So this is not a constant, this is not a constant. We cannot proceed as before. So can't proceed as before, right? So we need to do something else. So if you recall, so need to do something else, not like this, right? So what that else is, if you recall, In lecture number 2, we form Fredholm integral equation. If you recall in lecture number 2, formation of Fredholm equation, Fredholm integral equation. If you look at this topic, right, what we did is we considered initial value problem u double prime of x plus lambda ux equal to 0, where u at 0 is equal to 0 and u at L equal to 0. We considered this problem from 0 to L. If you consider this and we converted this to an integral equation, we converted the above problem to an integral equation and obtained a homogeneous Fredholm integral equation, which was u of x is equal to lambda 0 to L kxt ut dt, where kxt was x L minus t divided by L and t L minus x divided by L. We converted like this, where 0 to x less than t and t was from 0 to x less than L. Right? In lecture 2, you can recall, we considered this initial value problem and converted this to this homogeneous equation. Now we have this, we need to solve this. If you go back here, we need to solve this one ux, right? Now we have this. In our case, what is the difference? Difference is L is equal to 1 here. If you compare, our integral equation is from 0 to 1, so L is 1, and if you replace L1 here, you get x1 minus t and t1 minus x, exactly this equation. 0 to 1 and L is 1 here, you see, L is 1 everywhere. So we got the same problem, this problem, with L is equal to 1. So what I can do is, it means this problem and this initial value problem are the same. You get the eigenvalues from here or from here, it gives you the same answer. Alright? So ux is equal to lambda times 0 to 1 kxt ut dt, with kxt is equal to t times x times 1 minus t and t times 1 minus x. With this kernel, we can easily convert this to, right, this equation with this kernel easily gives d2u by dx square, the initial value problem which I just stated, 0, with u at 0 is equal to 0 and u at 1 is equal to 0, because L is 1. Alright, so either solve this one or this one for eigenvalues, we can get the same solution. Alright, so all I need is the eigenfunctions from here, ut, ux. Alright, so if I solve this one, I will again get, because we don't know how to solve this one, just because I gave you this reason, that because it has x in the limits, and the way we are finding the eigenvalues and eigenfunctions, we cannot do that in this case. So instead of that, I wrote the corresponding differential equation, initial value problem in terms of differential equation. So we can solve this and easily find u and eta. So solve this instead. Solve this problem to find lambda k and ux. Alright, so how to solve this one? In differential equation, you must have done this a very time, but let me do that again. So here we have cases auxiliary equation, if I write the auxiliary equation, it is m square plus lambda equal to 0. So from here m square is negative lambda. Now we have to take the square root. So it depends whether lambda is positive, negative, whatever. So we will discuss 3 cases here. So case 1 is lambda positive. Let's say lambda is positive. If lambda is positive, then m square is equal to minus lambda is negative. Right? This is negative, so it means your m is plus minus iota lambda. Because lambda itself is positive, so square root of lambda is defined and minus will become iota. So therefore, your u of x is c1 cosine square root of lambda x plus c2 sine square root of lambda x. Now if you use the initial conditions, u0 equal to 0 will give you cos 0 1 plus sine 0 0, so c1 0, and ul at 0 will give you, u1 at 0 gives you c1 cos square root of lambda plus c1 cos square root of lambda plus c2 sine square root of lambda, because c1 is 0, so this is gone, so you got just this one. So from here c2 is not equal to 0 for non-trivial. We are looking for non-trivial solutions, not the trivial one. For non-trivial solution. So for non-trivial solution, c2 has to be non-equal to 0. So from here, sine square root of lambda should be equal to 0. And this implies square root of lambda is equal to sine n pi is usually equal to 0. Right? So you got lambda is equal to n square pi square, and n goes from 1 to 3. We will not include 0 because lambda is strictly positive. We are dealing with the case lambda positive. If I take n to be equal to 0, that will make lambda equal to 0. So we cannot take that. Alright, so these are the eigenvalues, and ux will become, what is ux? c1 is 0 and c2 is arbitrary. So you got c2 sine square root of lambda x. Right? And what is lambda? Lambda, square root of lambda is n pi x. Right? So these are our eigenfunctions. Case 2 is that if lambda is negative. If we take lambda negative, then m square is equal to minus lambda is positive. So if it is positive, you are getting plus minus square root of negative lambda. They are real and distinct, not complex. In this case, your u will be c1 e to the square root of minus lambda x plus c2 e to the minus lambda x. Now if you use the conditions, u0 equal to c1 plus c2, this is equal to 0, and u at 1 implies that c1 e to the minus lambda plus c2 e to the minus lambda is equal to 0. This gives you c1 equal to minus c2. So if you replace c1 to be minus c2, you will get c2 minus c2, take common, you will get minus lambda, and minus e to the minus lambda is equal to 0. Again, c2 not equal to 0 for non-trivial solutions. For non-trivial solution, we have to take c2 not equal to 0. Reason is, if c2 is 0, then c1 will be 0 and this whole solution will become 0. We are not looking for 0 solution. So it means e to the minus lambda minus e to the minus lambda should be equal to 0. Because one of them has to be equal to 0. If c2 is not equal to 0, then this should be equal to 0. So e to the negative lambda should be e to the minus negative lambda, and if you divide, you will get e to the 2 minus lambda is equal to 1. Take log, you will get this equal to 0. Log of 1 is 0, and here it means minus lambda is equal to 0, which is not true. Not true. Reason is because lambda is positive. If lambda is negative here, minus lambda is positive, so this cannot be equal to 0. Alright, so this is not true. It implies that c2 is equal to 0 is the only choice. Because here I said c2 has not equal to 0, but this cannot be equal to 0 at all. So c2 has to be equal to 0. It means c1 will be equal to 0, and hence ux will be identically equal to 0, implies that no eigenvalue, no negative eigenvalue. So this is out of discussion. Now case 3 is, what about 0? Can 0 be the eigenvalue? What about 0? Can 0 be the eigenvalue? For that, your differential equation becomes this. Because lambda is 0, so if you integrate it twice, you will get c1x plus c2. So again, if u of 0 is equal to 0, this will make c2 equal to 0. So your u becomes just c1x. Now u at 1 is equal to 0, implies that c1 equal to 0. This implies that u is equal to 0. Again, trivial solution. So again, trivial solution, it means lambda equal to 0 is also not an eigenvalue. So not an eigenvalue. All right. So this is also not an eigenvalue. So what we got is, we only got this to be eigenvalues, and these are eigenfunctions. All right. Hence, the eigenvalues and eigenfunctions are lambda k is equal to k square pi square, and ukx are equal to sine k pi x, for k is equal to 1, 2, 3 and so on. So these are our only eigenfunctions and eigenvalues. So instead of solving this integral equation, I solved this one and found out that these are my eigenvalues and eigenfunctions. So these are the same eigenvalues and eigenfunctions which we should obtain from the integral equations. Because we were unable to solve the integral equations, so we solved the corresponding initial value problem to get the eigenvalues and eigenfunctions. And these are, of course, orthogonal. ukx are clearly orthogonal, because it's very easy to see u sine j pi x and sine k pi x dx. These are equal to 0 for all j not equal to k. This is clearly equal to 0. Now we have to normalize them. To normalize, we can integrate k with itself, sine k pi x with k pi x dx, and obtain the answer. This is from 0 to 1, sine square k pi x dx. So if you integrate, you can write sine square k by x is 1 minus cosine 2k pi x divided by 2, and integrate from 0 to 1 dx. And this integration is a bit easier now. It's x minus x by 2 and minus sine 2k pi x by 4k pi, right? And this is from 0 to 1. And if you take 1, it's 1 by 2 minus sine 2k pi is 0, and 0 will make it 0. So everything is 0, right? So this is equal to 1 by 2. So what is the norm? So therefore, the norm of un of x or uk of x, the norm of uk of x is square root of this whole thing, 0 to 1 uk square x dx. So that will make it square root of 1 by 2, which is 1 over square root of 2. So you need to divide by this one to make the eigenfunctions normalized. Hence, what we call the normalized functions, we were calling them phi k of x. So phi k is uk of x divided by the norm of uk of x. So that will make it sine k pi x divided by norm is 1 over square root of 2. So phi k of x is square root of 2 sine k pi x. So if you recall, we had c2 as well, but I didn't write c2 here. I didn't write c2. That are arbitrary constants, so you don't need to worry about that. Just write the variable part. Just ignore c2x. All right. So these are our normalized eigenfunctions. So therefore, the solution to the given integral equation is, so what is the solution? Solution is ux is equal to fx plus lambda summation k goes from 1 to infinity ak divided by lambda k minus lambda and phi k of x. Right? Phi k of x. So if I replace the values here, I'll get, by replacing the values, I'm getting fx was x plus lambda summation k goes from 1 to infinity ak divided by lambda k. Lambda k is k square pi square minus lambda, and your phi k of x is square root of 2 sine k pi x. So this is the solution if lambda is not equal to k square pi square. If lambda is not equal to, here our condition is lambda should not be equal to lambda k, right? So it means our lambda should not be equal to the eigenvalues. So this is our solution. Now still what is unknown here? This ak is still unknown. What is ak? Right? ak is still unknown. So we need to find ak, where ak is nothing but fx phi k of x dx. Right? 0 to 1. This was the formula for ak, so I can easily find this one. Fx is x, phi k of x is sine k pi x dx. There is a square root of 2 with it, and I can bring the square root of 2 out. So here if you integrate this, you will get, if you you need to integrate it by parts. So if you integrate by parts, the answer is this: square root of 2 minus 1 to the power k plus 1 over k pi. So this is your ak, and hence the solution becomes, so therefore the solution is ux equal to x plus lambda summation k goes from 1 to infinity 2 by pi minus 1 to the power k plus 1 sine k pi x divided by k times k square pi square minus lambda. Alright? So this is your solution when lambda is not equal to k square pi square. So if this is the solution when lambda is not equal to k square, then this is your solution. And if you want to write the resolvent kernel, the resolvent kernel is gamma x t lambda. The resolvent kernel is summation k goes from 1 to infinity phi k x phi k eta over lambda k minus lambda. Right? This was your resolvent kernel when lambda is not equal to lambda k. So if you want to write this in terms of our eigenfunctions, these are sine k pi x sine k pi eta divided by, there will be 2 as well, because square root of 2 and square root of 2 will make it 2. And here k square pi square minus lambda. So lambda is not equal to k square pi square. So this is your resolvent kernel along with the solution. So here this is your complete solution with this resolvent kernel. Alright? So only tricky part here in this example was, if you go back and recall, only tricky part was here, because this is our homogeneous equation and we need to find eigenvalues and eigenfunctions from here. But because of the type of this kernel, we were unable to do that, but we remembered this homogeneous Fredholm equation with this type of kernel appears from this initial value problem. right? So you have to go back and look at lecture number 2. Formation of the Fredholm integral equation is the topic, and you will see that we considered this initial value problem, and we integrated it twice to get this exact integral equation, Fredholm integral equation with this kernel. So instead of solving this, we solved this one to find eigenvalues and eigenfunctions. We needed to find eigenvalues and eigenfunctions no matter what procedure you are using. So once we got eigenvalues and eigenfunctions, then our solution is right there, right? So when once we have eigenvalues and eigenfunctions, then this is our solution, right? And with the resolvent kernel. So second example was, let's see one more example. In that slide, before that example, we wrote two equations, two examples. So let me solve the other example as well. The other example is x plus 4 pi square 0 to 1 kxt ut dt, where kxt is still the same resolvent, same kernel, x times 1 minus t and t times 1 minus x. 0 is less than x less than t and t less than x less than. So we are again having the same kernel. So I need the corresponding homogeneous equation. The corresponding homogeneous equation is ux equal to 4 pi square 0 to 1 kxt ut with k given by this equation. Again, this is very same example which we have done previously. So with this type of kernel, we won't be able to solve it directly. So what we do is we do the alternate technique. So alternatively, we can solve d2u by dx square plus lambda. But what is lambda here? Lambda is 4 pi square, right? U is equal to 0 with u0 equal to 0 and u at 1. L is again 1 because you see it goes from 0 to 1. So L is 1, 0 and 1. So we can again solve this one. We have just solved it. Let's solve it with the general one. These 2u by dx square plus lambda u is equal to 0, and we already know that the solutions, this implies lambda k. I'm not solving it, we have just solved. We know that these are our eigenvalues. We just solved and found out that these are our eigenvalues and eigenfunctions are k pi x, right? For k is equal to 1, 2, 3 and so on. Right, so this is our eigenvalues and eigenvector. We just solved this equation, right, previous slides. So these are our eigenvalues, eigenfunctions. So note that lambda is equal to 4 pi square in our case. If we look at our own equation, you see this is our lambda, right? Lambda, so this is equal to, this lambda is equal to lambda 2. If k is 2, then this is 4 pi square, right? This implies that our lambda is one of our eigenvalues. One of the eigenvalues. So what happens when lambda comes out to be one of the eigenvalues? Right? Then we need to use the proposition 2 of the Fredholm alternative. We have to check whether our this f of x is orthogonal to the eigenfunctions or not. We need to check. So now we need to check, because lambda came out to be the eigenvalue, so we need to check whether fx, which is x in our case, is orthogonal to uk of x or not, whether this is orthogonal or not. If it is orthogonal, then we will have infinite many solutions. If it is not orthogonal to our eigenfunctions, then we have no solution. So let's see. So to see this, we proceed as follows. We need to integrate fx with uk of x dx. right, with u2 of x basically, u2 of x dx. And instead I guess phi 2 of x, right, phi 2 of x. And we know what phi 2 is. If I want to write the orthonormal eigenvectors, we obtained that as well. This is sine k pi x. We already know that, right? So it doesn't matter, it's just a constant. If your function is orthogonal to uk, it will automatically be orthogonal to phi k as well. Normalization does not change orthogonality. All right, so it doesn't matter if you write u2 or phi 2. Why I'm writing phi 2 of x here? Because it was equal to lambda 2. So I need to check whether function is orthogonal to u2 of x or not. So this is 0 to 1, fx is x, and phi 2 of x is sine 2 pi x dx. And if you integrate, you will get square root of 2 is outside, and if you integrate, you will get x as it is. Integral of sine is minus cosine by 2 pi from 0 to 1, and minus integral of x is 1, and this is minus cosine 2 pi x by 2 pi dx. So here you got cosine 1, so this is minus cosine 2 pi by 2 pi, and 0 will make it 0 because this x is 0, so 0 will make it 0. Minus minus plus, integral of cosine is sine 2 pi x by 2 pi, so this will become 4 pi square from 0 to 1. And now if you simplify it, minus cosine 2 pi by 2 pi plus sine 2 pi is 0, and minus sine 0 is 0. So this is gone. So you got square root of 2 minus 1. So this is minus 1 over square root of 2 pi. So that is not equal to 0. If it is not equal to 0, it means that, so we got 0 to 1, fx u2x or phi 2x dx is not equal to 0. This implies that fx is not orthogonal to u2x. So Fredholm alternative says, so this implies that the solution of a given integral equation does not exist. All right, so does not exist. So as we said, if you go back here, we said because lambda is equal to one of the eigenvalues, so now it will depend on f of x whether solution exists or not. If fx is orthogonal to u2x, so there will be infinite many solutions. If fx is not orthogonal, then there will be no solution at all. And we have seen that your function is not orthogonal to your eigenfunction, so this implies that your the solution of the given integral equation does not exist at all. All right, so we have done one example where whenever your lambda is not equal to eigenvalue, we get a unique solution. When lambda is equal to the eigenvalue and your x is fx is orthogonal to f of x, then you will get infinite many solution. And if your fx is not orthogonal to your eigenfunctions, then you have no solutions at all. All right, so this is, if you go back and look at this equation is the same. This is x. You see, it's the same equation which we have studied before. So this was the example when I said if lambda is not equal to k square pi square, then this is your solution. You are getting a unique solution. But when we took lambda to be equal to eigenvalue, then we have seen that for this choice of x, you are not getting any solution. For some other choice of x which is orthogonal, so let's say we have some fx here for which we get 0 answer here, then you will get infinite many solutions. You are not getting a unique solution at all. All right, so these are two examples where we have used this Fredholm alternative, and we saw that when we get unique solutions and when we don't get the unique solutions. All right, or no solutions at all. So this lecture was again on existence and the uniqueness of the eigenfunctions. So So we did these two examples. We just solved these two examples. Here we got the unique solution if lambda is not an eigenvalue. But when I took lambda to be equal to 4 pi square, and we saw that this 4 pi square was one of the eigenvalue, and then we went on to see whether this fx is equal to x is orthogonal to your eigenfunction or not, and we saw that this is not orthogonal to your eigenfunction, so it means there does not exist the solution of this equation. And there will be unique solution if and only if this lambda is not equal to k square pi square for any choice of k. So these two equations we got, these two examples we solved, and we see for one example we had a unique solution depending on the values of lambda not equal to k square pi square, and here because lambda was fixed, and we saw that there does not exist any solution of this equation. All right, so so in today's lecture we started off with the same topic where we left off in the last lecture, solution of the Fredholm equation of second kind with symmetric kernel but non-degenerate kernels. So we had to take the help of differential equation to get the eigenvalues and eigenfunctions, and we studied a couple of examples for that as well. I hope you understood what we did today. You have to go back to lecture number 2 to convince yourself why we solved the initial value problem instead of homogeneous Fredholm equation. With that, I will finish today's lecture. I will see you next time in lecture number 9. Till then, Allah Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum.